What's up, everybody? What's up, everybody? You are tuned in to Brown Girls Glow Live. That is correct. We are here to celebrate another day and to celebrate, of course, Allen Iverson's birthday, which was on June 7th. And guess what, y'all? The person who is the GOAT transformed the NBA as far as what they dressed and how and a style of play. You know what I mean? Because the AI crossover, there was nothing like it, right? So it was AI's 50th birthday on June 6th. And man, I'm talking about none other than Allen Iverson, of course, you know what I mean? For those who don't know what the AI is for, I'm not talking about artificial intelligence, okay? I'm talking about the original, okay? Allen Iverson. I can't even call him the OG because I feel like when you say OG, people sound old, and no, Allen Iverson, not in my book, okay? Allen Iverson is still the one, he's still the man, all right? So transparently, I'm looking for my phone because, why not give our Instagram fam a chance to watch the live. So, Brown Girls Glow, for those of you who don't know, is a show that is directed towards high school girls. And we just want to love on them and, of course, teach them things that they might not be learning in high school. And I'm really speaking from a personal perspective most times, but other times I'm interviewing other women of color that are doing amazing in their fields, inspiring young women to dream big, take their education seriously, and get mentors to guide them along their way. I have a book that is coming out this August called Glow Girl. It's available for pre-order now at miahalltv.com. So if you haven't yet, please subscribe and make sure that you pick up a copy of Glow Girl. All right, so let's see if we can just get the Instagram community to join us as well. All right, so I'm doing a high school series. This is part 2 of a high school series that I am doing. And today I'm talking about my high school influences. So anybody that knows me or that knew me in high school would know that Allen Iverson was, I mean, you could ask pretty much anybody that knew me in high school. It was very evident that I loved Allen Iverson, loved him down, loved him dearly. Me and Allen Iverson were locked in. And yeah, it was of course because it was stronger because I loved basketball, right? I was an athlete. I started playing basketball in middle school actually, and I talk about this in my book, and I actually believe I talked about this on my last live, but I really started to play basketball in middle school. And of course, when Iverson came in the league, he was I think he was like something that people had never seen before. And because he was so unique and he brought like the hip hop flavor, and also he brought like almost like a street basketball style as well. Like though he was, of course, played for the Hoyas, you know what I mean? Like very professional, came from Newport News, which was very close to where I went to school at Hampton University. At Hampton University. And, so he came with his own style of play and, was like, hey, take it or leave it. He was coming out here, crossing up Jordan. I mean, stepping over Teron Lue. We were just like, whoa, 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 where did he come from? He plays like he is outside, on the concrete court. And so that was when I was like, okay, this is my balling inspiration. I'm gonna call myself, a lot of girls would call themselves Lady Iverson, but I was like, beyond Lady Iverson, let's just put Allen and Iverson together, and I'm gonna call myself Allison. So I had the custom Sixer shorts with Allison on it. I really thought I was the girl version of Allen Iverson, for real. and I carried that throughout high school. I used to get his sneakers. I used to Not, of course, not by myself. My mom was very a sweet woman, the sweet woman that she is. She made sure that I had like all the like latest Iversons, and I would match them up with the Iverson jersey. I created my own jersey with Allen Iverson on it. It was a lot, but that's what happens in high school, right? We get these influences, and this was like really before the internet was like so full of influencers. And so I do wonder, how that affects teenage girls today, the influences, and just how they are influenced by so many more people nowadays. So this was in my day, and the thing about being influenced is just to make sure that you have your own values, so that you won't compromise your values, compromise anything that you feel like you can do with integrity because your influencer, you know what I mean, is doing it. So that is my lesson with that. I knew that I loved Allen Iverson, but I wasn't like I'm going to, I don't know exactly what he did in his personal life, but that was because we didn't have, you know, um, the internet and people like that were reporting like they do now on people's lifestyles and on people's personal business. So I didn't really know, but I say nowadays for teenage girls, listen, have a set of values, have a set of standards that you stick by, that you won't be doing the same thing as those who are influenced. Like let's say, for example, Allen Iverson was a very flashy dresser, right? So I could have said, you know what, I want to be a flashy dresser with big jewelry, but my mom isn't rich, so guess what? By any means necessary, I'm going to steal, I'm going to fight, I'm going to rob people. Like, this is New York City, so trust and believe there were kids out there doing that. But my values were that I would not steal, that that I was going to live with integrity, that I though of course I wanted to be fly and fresh and whatever, and my mom kept me as fresh as could be, but I didn't let my influences take me past my character, and that's not what you want to do. So shout out to Allen Iverson. Hope he had a great birthday and still celebrating being 50 years old, making it to his 50th year. And he's still an inspiration. That's still my boy. And I still think he's the GOAT. That's my personal opinion. He's the greatest of all time to me. Okay? I like his personal style of play better than any other player, okay? All right. And so, what's up, Janae? So my second inspiration, and this is not in any order, but I am going to say my mom. Any person that asks me who's my biggest life's inspiration, of course it is my mother. She raised me as a single mom, single parent, had me as a teenager, did what she had to do in order to take care of me. And she still is a big, of course, inspiration in my life. So as far as, women, which I represent on this platform, I'm going to always talk about women, especially women of color, especially Black women that inspired me. Have to give my mom a big shout out for that, but she was important in my whole life. So this time I'm talking about high school influences. And so I would say another person that influenced me in high school was Miss April Walker, and I met her at the same time I met Miss Gloria Blake. So they, of course, two totally different people, but I interned for both of them. So I will say I interned for April Walker, founder and CEO of Walkaware. I interned for her first, and it was actually not too far from where I was staying and things like that. So I would just go there like after school. I was helping her with a fashion documentary, and I believe that some of the footage that I helped her to log was used in the documentary that she was, and I believe it's still available on Netflix. So y'all look up April Walker, go see her special on Netflix. That was like one of my first high school internships. Was working with April Walker and the W Group. So that was super fun, and yeah, she was just a big inspiration. I saw how she did her business. She had She opened up a pet store, and just always had business ideas, and had businesses that she was running, and yeah, it was just a boss. So really loved and appreciated that, and that she gave me the opportunity to work and learn about the world of fashion and things like that, in high school. So I would say, for that point, look at who you can help. While you're young, while you have some time, exactly. Look who you can get internships from that, are either doing things you want to do or just living a life that you want to live. See if you can intern with them, support them, help them out. And on the way, of course, you're going to get your own tips. You're going to get your own advice. You're going to be able to see the path and see if it's the right one for you. Maybe it's not. Maybe you do the internship and then you realize that, hey, you know what? Actually, I don't want to get into fashion, because I didn't get into fashion. But it was still a great time to even learn business, regardless of what it was. And entrepreneurship. She's been an entrepreneur for a very long time, so I was able to learn entrepreneurship from her. I would say Gloria Blake. Now, they used to work together, and then Gloria Blake started working with Rough Riders. I don't know if she started, I believe she started working with Rough Riders after she left Walkaware. And so I was able to intern with her at the Rough Riders, like offices in Manhattan. And she was, always moving. First of all, she was always, dressed to the nines. So was April. And, but yeah, when I was working with Gloria, she was really like over, like basically over the Rough Riders clothing brand. And there, I got in a bunch of internship hours. I worked with her designer, saw all the designs that she was doing. They had so many fresh, just beautiful pieces. That I remember they had this jacket, this denim jacket that literally was just so pretty. The way that it was styled, it had the sleeves kind of puffed up, and I gave it away. I still regret that decision to this day, but I hope I found a shirt. I mean, a jacket just like that. But anyway, Gloria, she was just, and she always, like never. I mean, she always like took me out with her. I remember when she was having her daughter Lola, who just graduated. I went to her graduation at Hampton University. I'm so happy for her. But I remember, when she was like thinking about a name for Lola. I remember when she was pregnant with Lola and thinking about a name for her. So yeah, and I just remember her like, taking me along with her, like, meetings and, things like that at the offices. Like, it was just cool. It was very cool. And I got to earn internship hours in high school from her. So I would say Gloria Blake, a mentor. And she used to come with us on youth retreats. So anybody that knows me knows in high school, whether it's CCC, whether it was Brooklyn Tabernacle, I used to go on youth retreats. So I think that it's a very, if you have the opportunity, whether it's a high school student, as a young college student, or college student period, to go on retreats, I definitely recommend it. You get to just be away, from the noise sometimes, especially if you live in a city, or be away from your family and be with, peers that love Jesus. Okay, so that was a great time for me, retreat. So to be able to just relax, breathe, and go on those retreats. So Gloria was a youth leader on those retreats, and was a big inspiration for me. Big influence, and I definitely took away from her hard work. Like, she always was a hard worker, and I'm very thankful that I had the opportunity to see her work, to see her do her business, to see her, running a major brand. And it was a time. It was a time. Now I will go back to the men influences. Speaking of church and speaking of Christian Cultural Center, Dr. A.R. Bernard. He was a super big influence in my life, because he really was not only, of course, teaching me the Christian faith, Christian principles, the way of life, but he was teaching us principles, that we can apply. Of course, principles that we can apply to our daily life, of course, under Christianity, but it seemed like, he let us know how basic principles that seemed like they were just things that we should know from life. Like, let's say, sow a seed, it'll grow into a experience, things like that. Like, you would think that this is just from the world, but he gave us biblical examples, and he would teach about this, in church. So it just seemed like it was, professional development. He used to talk about like how, people pay a lot of money for conferences, to get the information that y'all are getting every Sunday, and this is how it was in high school. Like this is, that really shaped, and I talk a lot about it in Glow Girl, but that really, shaped how I looked at like my worldview. We talk about, well, he talks about how everybody has a worldview, really shaped my worldview. And I really appreciate that. And I even, when I was in high school, of course, I used to go to all the youth retreats. And then in college, when I came back home, of course, that's where I found out about the scholarship. I've talked about this before plenty of times, but, it was at church that I found out that there was a scholarship awarded to people applying to one of the top schools in their major. So that's what made me even think about applying to Harvard. And so, so always grateful for him, always grateful for that. Grateful for Pastor Jamal Bernard, Dr. Al Bernard's son. I have to mention him because, he was younger at the time. So, he used to lead the youth retreats though, like lead the youth ministry, lead the youth retreat. So, I mean, if it wasn't for him, it wouldn't be a C3. And we even, of course, as I got older, not going to the retreats as an attendee, but I started going as a counselor, and then I started serving on the C3 ministry. So that was a good time. I remember when we were formulating C3, and I'll just say that. And Gloria, again, she always had us on the C3 merchandise. So, we had sweaters, we had Jesus head pieces, and the Baco Blue is coming back, so I can't wait. But yeah, so I will say, I learned change is the only thing that's constant in life. I learned communication breaks down, abnormality sets in. Like these are the principles that I was learning in high school. And so big shout out to Dr. Al Bernard for that, and Pastor Jamal Bernard as well for helping to break down those principles for the youth. So that, when we learn, when we go on the retreats, when we go to like youth sessions and youth Bible studies, that we can understand it. I have to also shout out, I have a whole list. I'm going to go back to the women and shout out Dr. Ellen Markowitz. She is the founder of Powerplay NYC. And I discovered, Powerplay NYC discovered me. They were looking for high school girls that were athletes to educate and empower girls through sports. And so I was playing on the basketball team. Shout out to Peacemakers because Coach Monk, he was a big influence as well. But yes, I had a male coach, but this program, it focused on women coaches, right? And so, they were like, if you want to come to this program, you can come to the city. And, we meet I think we met once every 2 weeks. Once they said we would come to the city, they had me. I was like, you got me, okay? I want to come to the city because I loved, or Manhattan, but people from New York, we do call it the city. I saw a post on that the other day. But we used to go to Manhattan to, ESPN offices, Madison Square Garden, and that's the first time that I saw people that looked like me, like Ellen Markowitz. She's not a woman of color, but she put women of color in positions, in front of us. Like she exposed the high school girls basketball team that played out of Bushwick, played in Borinquen. She exposed us to women that worked in sports. So she was trying to show us like, hey, you can play basketball, but you can also be the owner of a team. You could run the business development department of a team. You can, work in community relations, community outreach. You can work as a broadcaster. You can work at, all these things. But, that really opened my eyes to, 15 people might play for a team, but 200 to 250 people might work for that team, doing ticket sales, doing, all types of things, merchandising, like I talked about. Like they have all these different departments, marketing, like sponsorships, community outreach. Like, you can do so many things for a team. You can still work in sports, but not have to be on the field. So shout out to Ellen Markowitz for that. I'm going to go back to my actual high school, Miss Gentile. I know that I could name a million people, but Miss Gentile, she really saw that I had and I hope that I find her so that I can send her a book, but she really believed in my writing skills. She was my English teacher, and she used to give us these contests, and You know, I know that there were 2 contests that she helped me to win. It was like citywide contests. So, you know, I'm really thankful that, you know, she went beyond the textbooks. She went beyond the textbooks to say, you know what, I'm going to give my students the opportunity to be awarded for their work. And so it was a poetry contest was one, and you can be the police commissioner for a day. I don't know what was behind that, but you know, but that was very interesting because we got to, you know, I got to leave school for a day. That didn't make me like super excited. I wasn't like that type of kid, but either way, it was still cool to be able to, you know, go to the city, go to this big ceremony. I got a plaque. I think it might not be here anymore, but my mom used to have the plaque hanging up. Oh, you can see Allen Iverson in the back. That's so funny. I really didn't even. That's so funny. I really didn't even know he was back there. Um, what's up, Larry? I didn't even know, but there's a plaque of Allen Iverson. We had him hanging up. You know, this has been in my mom's living room since I was in high school because that's how much I liked him. So he was in the picture. Oh, here's the this is not the plaque, but the time that my teacher Miss Gentile, this was the police commissioner at the time. This is so funny that I'm at my mom's house so I can show these high school pictures. So yeah, this was when I was commissioner for a day. So I didn't win like the whole thing, but they had like I guess it was kind of like finalist prizes. So I I was like the chief of a precinct for a day. It was so funny. I don't know why they had us being in the police precinct, but you know, I guess they were trying to reach the kids and, you know, show them, hey, we're not so bad. But you know, but no, it was good. I just hope that they treat our people better. Okay. So yeah, so that was fun. So Miss Gentile, shout out to Miss Gentile. So, you know, find those teachers that, you know, are giving other people opportunities. That's why you have to speak to the person that is doing well in the class that you want to excel in, right? If you're not doing well in the class, high school students, there is someone doing well in that class, right? Find that person, find out what they talk to the Miss Gentiles about, right? Oh, there's a contest. Oh, let me enter. How can I do this? How can I, you know, be better? Ask your teachers questions. That's what I did. That's what I did with Miss Gentile. And that's how she got me into that contest and another contest that I can't remember the name of, but it was a whole nother thing. You know, she was like, Mia, you won again, and da 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 da. So, so love her down. And I have one more. This is just a quick one. I probably have to do part 2 because I know there's some people that I missed that would be like, what? You didn't talk about me. No, I'm kidding. They won't care. Shout out to Miss Hughgate because she used to do our talent shows and and Mr. C because he used to, I'm just thinking off the top of my head who would have said, but these were Ben Harsdale teachers that I have to give a shout out to. But yeah, Miss Hughgate used to do our talent shows, which amazing, so much fun. And she used to let me and Omar host them. And Mr. C, he let us do a talent show in the classroom, and he really let us play with the video camera. Like that was one thing that I'll never forget. He let me and Omar, who were very interested in video, back when it was no camera phones, we barely had cell phones, let alone camera phones. So he let us do a whole talent show inside our classroom. Like we did a fashion show, we did performances. We have to convert that video one day, and I'll be able to post it. But honey, we were something else. But yep, so shout out to them. But I was gonna mention somebody that was an influence to me, and actually I literally saw her like 2 weeks ago. So that's Miss Oma Holloway. I had an after school job in high school, and I worked at it was a beacon program. I don't even know how I got the job, but I'm pretty sure that I actually don't remember, but I do remember working at PSIS 235. Nope. PSIS, I think it's just 35 in Bed-Stuy, with Oma Holloway. She was the head of, you know, that program there, and probably at other schools too. But just, I mean, she's tall, like a tall Black woman, beautiful, and but you can tell like she's about her business. Like shoulders were always back, chin was always up, like, you know, and was like, no, I believe in these students. I'm going to get them like the resources, everything that they need. We were working for her, but she also always provided us resources to be able to, this is not the last person I remember. Now I see another person, but I try to do women and men. And one more person after her, but she would, you know, give us places to go that she thought would help us. So I worked there I only worked my senior year in high school. That was the only time I really like had a job that where I had like a little paycheck and stuff like that. So yes, I used to go to there and work after school, which was cool. That's where I met, of course, 4 guys that went to Hampton, and 4 guys that went to Hampton, and you know, they were like, "Oh, where you going to school?" I was like, "I don't know." They was like, "You going to Hampton?" Because I was thinking about Hampton, but I was like, "I don't know." Literally worked with 4 guys that were just graduated from Hampton, so that was hilarious. So yep, so I did that, and then like during the year, we used to work in this arts class, and I'll talk about this another time too. But that was how I got inspiration for. What's up, y'all? At that after school program is where I got inspiration for my college essay. We'll talk about that another day, another time. But yeah, Ms. Oma had this just whole robust, amazing program. So why I really like her too is because she also had connections to and told me about this program called Apex. And Apex was run by Brother Carlos Walton, who was also a big inspiration in my life, even though I only met him in my senior year. I only met Ms. Holloway in my senior year too. But when she told me about the program, I believe it was every month for like maybe 6 months. We had a college prep. It could have been twice a month. We had a college prep class, and we would go to that class, and they would, you know, like you bring in different speakers, you know, to talk to us about college prep. And this was all like very helpful. It was really getting me in the routine of, okay, you know what I'm saying? I'm going to college. Like, this is what I need to know. This is what I need to do. And those things are really important. So anytime you get an opportunity to go to, especially a free program like that, take advantage of it, I suggest. So she told me about that program, and you know, I loved it. I went on the college tour, of course, and that's how I got to see about 9 HBCUs, including Hampton University, where I ended up choosing to go to school. And not only that, so thank you, Ms. Holloway. My takeaway from there, and my takeaway from there is that, you know, tap into those people at a job. You never know. It might be your boss, right? It might be just find mentors, really, but it can be anywhere. It can be a boss. It doesn't have to be inside school. It could be outside of school, and you know, see what kind of resources they have, especially free resources for high school students. So yes, he is the last but not least. So at that program was Brother Carlos, who showed me the movie Sankofa. And anybody that has seen the movie Sankofa and knows about the Sankofa bird, who is a fictional bird, but he's part of an African proverb that, you know, to go forward, you must look back. So the bird, you know, if anybody has seen it before, looks back. So I love that. But yeah, that film was the first time I saw the slave castles in Ghana. And of course, it takes you from, you know, when we were kings and queens in Ghana to when, unfortunately, you know, even it does show, you know, that Africans were selling Africans, but, you know, they were under, you know, a lot of pressure as well. Not, of course, making any excuses, but I'm just saying it was reasons. And yeah, it just showed how harsh and terrible that process was. So I always knew, well, from when I saw that movie, I was like, oh, well, I want to go, you know, to see the slave castles. And I did get the opportunity to go when I was 30, but I saw that film when I was like 17 because of Brother Carlos Walton. So shout out to him. He's also, of course, a Hampton University graduate. So you know, so that's an extra icing on the cake. But they showed us not only that movie, but on the bus, you know how you can show videos on the bus? We saw like Black history movies about Marcus Garvey and, you know, just learning our history. And that built so much pride in us. And that's probably what inspired me, as was one of the things that also inspired me to want to go to HBCU, because so much of our history is lacking. Even back then, even before banned books, it wasn't like we had many books to work with in the first place. So, so anyhow, even though we need to get those books back in because they don't need to erase our history. So yeah, shout out to Brother Carlos. So yes, those are about, that's a lot of influences in high school, but those are a few of the influences I have. Tap into those free programs, ladies. Make sure that you are staying focused. Of course, like I said before, keep your values, keep your integrity as you are, being influenced. But know that people that have been somewhere, where you want to go before you, they can help you to get to that destination, right? Not making the same mistakes that they made, right? And if you don't, if you find someone that doesn't want to help you, guess what? Find another person. You know what I mean? I remember my mentor, Karen Bukos, used to always tell me, like, to tell us, look in the phone book. No more phone books anymore, but theoretically, let's say look in our directory, look on LinkedIn, and look up the top person in your industry. Invite them out to lunch. If they say no, that you can't go to lunch with them, look up the second top person, or second most successful person, let's say, in your industry, and invite them out to lunch. And then you keep on going down the list. So I was like, well, you're in the industry I want to go to, so let me take you to lunch. She was like, okay, and she actually paid for the lunch, of course. But yes, thank you all for joining me on this live. I hope that you learned something. If you do, please leave it in the comments. Make sure you share this with a friend, and make sure that you subscribe so that you can get more videos like this. Don't forget, Glow Girl is available at miahalltv.com. I will see you all on Wednesday. Take care.